At my brother's engagement dinner, everyone laughed and roasted me when my place card said, "The failure." So I walked out, took back everything I paid for, and the next morning I woke up to 17 missed calls. I 32M, thought I had hit rock bottom when my startup failed 6 months ago, but I was wrong. Rock bottom was sitting at my brother's engagement dinner, looking at a place card that said, "The failure," while 37 family members laughed and roasted me like I was the funniest thing they had ever seen. I walked into the private dining room at Romano's carrying a bottle of expensive champagne I could barely afford, wearing the only suit I had left, trying to celebrate my brother's happiness even though my own life felt like a mess. Mom had spent weeks planning this dinner, saying it was about family, but it was clear she and everyone else found it hilarious to make me the joke. I picked up my card and felt a cold pain hit my chest. The laughter was loud, not a gentle chuckle, but full-throated laughing that made me feel small and invisible. My brother looked shocked for a second, then started laughing too. Mom covered her mouth, trying not to show she was amused. I realized this wasn't just a joke. After 32 years of being the older brother, lending money, helping everyone, fixing problems, and showing up whenever needed, I was officially seen as the family disappointment. Nobody noticed how I had quietly supported them for years. The car my brother drove, the wedding reservations, the flights for family trips. I had handled everything behind the scenes, but no one saw that. Instead of laughing or pretending to take it lightly, I set the card down and looked around. Everyone was waiting for my reaction, curious if I would laugh along or play the part of the failure. I reached for my water glass, stood up and spoke calmly about family, about people you can live without, and about how sometimes the biggest failure is believing people care when they only see you as entertainment. The room went silent. I didn't drink from my glass. I walked toward the door, feeling a sense of control I hadn't felt in months. Outside in the parking lot, I called the finance company to repossess the BMW my brother thought he owned. Then I called the resort to cancel the wedding reservation, explaining I had authority over it. Next, I reversed the airline miles I had transferred for family trips. And finally, I called to cancel the wine service. By the time I got into the car, my brother was running toward me, panicked, realizing that this was no longer a joke. I sat in the driver's seat, calm, telling him quietly that I wasn't angry about the card. I was angry about being used, about pretending we were close when clearly we weren't. The drive home took 23 minutes. I thought about every time I said yes when I should have said no, every favor I did quietly, and how easy it had been to mistake being needed for being valued. My apartment felt different when I entered. Quiet but not lonely. Felt like my space finally. Within an hour, my phone started ringing. My brother, Mom, Dad. But I let them go to voicemail and turned it off. I was free. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. I made coffee and sat at my kitchen table, the BMW keys shining in the morning light, and read through everything slowly. The messages followed a pattern. First, anger. How could I be so petty over a harmless joke? Then bargaining. Surely we could work something out, they said. Family was more important than pride. And finally, desperation. The wedding was in 3 weeks. Deposits had been made. Guests had booked flights. Mom's messages were the most interesting. She had called the resort herself, only to discover that the original reservation had been in my name all along. Without my permission, nothing could be changed. Later that day, Dad showed up in his old truck, looking smaller and more tired than I had ever seen him. He climbed out carefully, as if walking on thin ice, and asked to talk. I let him follow me upstairs, curious what he would say. He sat on my couch, looking around like he had never been there before, taking in the small apartment I had moved into after my business failed. Slowly, he explained that they had all been worried about me, that the joke was meant to include me, to show I was still part of the family. I listened quietly, making coffee, and then asked a simple question. In what world did they think public humiliation would help my confidence? Dad's face fell as I told him about everything they had taken for granted. The car I co-signed for my brother, the resort booking, the airline miles, the wine service. every favor I had done, every time I said yes when I should have said no. His face turned gray as he realized how much I had done quietly, without recognition, without complaints. When I finished, he asked why I had never told them. My answer was simple: family shouldn't need scorekeeping. Love and support should flow naturally. I believed that being reliable meant being valued. I was wrong. A few days later, I heard from my cousin Mark about a family meeting. Everyone had gathered at Mom and Dad's house, trying to fix something that couldn't be fixed. Mom had cried, not out of anger, but guilt. She realized the joke had not been funny. She finally understood that they had taken me for granted for years. My brother had tried to take charge, suggesting they pay me back and find new wedding arrangements. That's when they discovered how big the problem really was. The resort was booked solid for 18 months. The flights could not be easily rebooked. The BMW was legally mine, despite his payments. 3 days later, my brother came to my apartment. He looked broken, dark circles under his eyes, clothes rumpled, energy desperate. He sat in the same chair Dad had occupied, not bargaining or making excuses, just admitting they had messed up and asking for mercy. The wedding was canceled. His fiancée was furious, especially when she learned how much of their lifestyle had been paid by me. He asked what it would take to fix things. I told him the truth. Couldn't be fixed the way it was. Too many assumptions had been shattered. We could rebuild something, but it would be different. He could keep paying the car if he wanted to buy it. Market value. No family discount. Weeks later, I got a job offer from a former client. Nothing fancy, but steady pay and a chance to rebuild. The BMW remained parked outside, mine by legal right. Christmas came and went. I spent it on the beach in San Diego, reading about second chances. Messages from home came occasionally, but I didn't feel pressured to reply. Mom texted she missed me. Dad sent a picture of an empty chair at the dinner table. My brother sent nothing. Mark sent one update. Without me as their safety net, the family had to solve problems on their own. Dad got a part-time job. Mom started a small business. My brother moved back home to save money. Everyone was learning to be independent. I started dating Sarah, a teacher who didn't care about my business failure. She appreciated me for who I was now, not for what I had lost. When I told her about the place card, she got angry on my behalf in a way that felt right, not exhausting. She told me something that stuck. It sounds like you finally learned to value yourself as much as you valued them. She was right. For years, I measured my worth by how useful I was to others. That had changed. Walking away from that dinner had shown me who I really was. Someone worth knowing. Weeks later, I got a wedding invitation from my brother. It was simple, affordable, and genuine. No exotic resort, no expensive flights, no fancy wine service. Just a ceremony and a reception. At the bottom, in his handwriting, he wrote, "I hope you can forgive us enough to come. If not, I understand. Either way, thank you for teaching us to stand on our own feet. I haven't decided if I'll go, but I am considering it. For the first time, I feel free." The place card called me a failure, but walking away from that table was my first success. Some lessons, like the BMW, are worth keeping.